Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Casters booth here for the Intel Extreme Masters Day number 2 here at Gamescom. My name is Kyle Laris.
I'm Day 9, and I'm very excited at the fact that for the first time ever in about an hour, the floor will finally be open to the public. Yesterday was Industry Day, where we got the chance to cheat a little bit and start the cast early, but soon enough, the entire crowd will be filled up because group stage matches are kicking it off today.
They are indeed, and we are going to be getting on with Inori and Nerchio in just a little bit. But before we do that, I really want to echo the sentiments that we had on the stage earlier. A massive, massive thank you to all the sponsors that we have here. Intel, Patriot Memory, BenQ, and Twitch. These guys putting together this tournament for us and, you know, being able to support us with that is really, really awesome. And please do show them as much support as possible.
Yeah, and definitely go over to esl.tv/IEM where you can get that HD pass, or at the very least, just follow all the results of everyone, such as the crazy series of open bracket matches that we saw yesterday, where we saw Nesty narrowly qualifying through, Grubby amazingly knocking out 2 Koreans on his way to qualify in the same pool as MVP, and today, in these round-robin groups of 6, top 3 will be advancing to the playoffs that will be played out Saturday and Sunday. But just groups A and B today.
Yeah. And if you do finish top of your group, you end up skipping one of the rounds during that bracket in the final 2 days. So that is very, very important indeed. It allows you to gain that extra little advantage. So there's so much incentive to be able to take that top spot over, say, just narrowly passing second or third.
So in these first matches, again, a little bit of comfort going in. You know that you have 5 total matches to play to catch up. But our first 2 players are going to be Inori and Nerchio, who have both built up quite the reputation for themselves. And I wanted to start off a little bit with Nerchio, who you got the chance to show me those stats. What exactly were Nerchio's lifetime stats?
Well, I mean, we'll come back to Nerchio in a second. We'll kick things off with Inori to begin with. Inori here is probably one of the surprises of coming through the brackets and the open bracket to be able to qualify here. He went through stage 1, wasn't initially invited, but stage 2, he was able to defeat the likes of MMA, MC, Sleep, and Supernova to be able to claim a spot here at the Intel Extreme Masters. So, whilst nobody would have expected him to prevail over the likes of MC, who had to come through the open bracket, a phenomenal, phenomenal performance by him to be able to be here. And
those results actually kind of surprised me a bit. I mean, Inori, generally known as being a PvP specialist. I even see that on the stats that you have, he's at 64% lifetime in PvP, but I'm really worried about his PvZ going up against a player of Nerchio's caliber. I mean, I was joking a little bit about the stats earlier on. Nerchio actually is at almost 70% in all 3 matchups.
Yes. And it's not just that, here we go, here's the man himself. And it's not just a case of, well, you know, it's 70% across 100 games per matchup. No, not at all. It's like 70% across like 600 matches per matchup, which is insanity. Absolute craziness.
And the great thing about Nerchio is that he used to be a random player, decided to go and play Zerg. At the time when Zerg was performing the worst, he felt like it was best tuned to his style. And he's really shown through as one of these Zerg players that is super comfortable with almost every style. The one thing, though, that I've seen consistently as a downfall of his in the last 2 months is he has huge problems dealing with any Immortal-based play, even like, oh god, Immortals are so overpowered. But let's be honest, his play has been largely Roach and Fester, both of which aren't quite as good against the Immortal as other units.
Yeah, now, Nerchio is a little bit of an interesting story here for this initial opening of the Intel Extreme Masters. Now, interestingly enough, Nerchio has actually already guaranteed himself a spot at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship at CBIT at the very end of the season by winning Home Story Cup number 5, for those of you who didn't know. So, for the Intel Extreme Masters Gamescom, he actually had to go through the full qualification process, through from stage 2 onwards. And he was able to take very, very convincing PvZ series off the likes of people like Grubby and Elfie. And Grubby's PvZ, I mean, as we saw yesterday, going up against the likes of Targa, that I'm pronouncing correctly today, is, you know, he is able to make things happen from potentially nothing.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to play from behind is so key. I mean, it's easy in StarCraft 2 to just have it be the one-moment wonder style where you try to win the one big battle, and there you go, boom. get ahead in the long run. But the hard part is when you're playing from behind, you have to slowly work your way back up. It's very, very difficult to do in StarCraft 2, as there are not as many easy comeback opportunities. You can't top deck a really nice miracle spell like you can in Avacyn Restored. Magic the Gathering humor.
Very, very good indeed. As hey, we've already jumped into the game here, Day 9, so let's get it on as we load up onto Daybreak for our first map. So without further ado, we do have spawning up to the top right-hand corner here as our blue Protoss. He's going to go by the name of TSL's Inori.
And down in the bottom right, the young Zerg superstar from Europe, it is Acer's Nerchio.
Now, once again, you know, Nerchio has those very, very amazing statistics to his name here going into the Intel Extreme Masters Gamescom. But other than that, I mean, he's just had great finishes elsewhere. There's been the 2 crowning achievements in his career thus far, being Home Story Cup 5, also recently the World Championship Series Poland for the Blizzard World Championship Series. Now, he was able to prevail again over the likes of people like Mao's Mana in the final there. And again, Mana is no slouch in this matchup. He famously was able to recently win DreamHack, pretty much based majoritively on his PVZ. So Nerchio is very, very formidable in this matchup.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see if Inori is going to be able to bust it out here against him.
You know, I mean, I always feel slightly bad for Nerchio in that truly he's honestly Code-S caliber Zerg. I mean, seeing the way that he's able to take down the top Koreans with such consistency in tournaments, in practice, wherever. But he gets overshadowed by Stefano.
Yes.
Because people tend to treat Europe as a country when it comes to a lot of tournaments. Korea is the other country, and everywhere else is the third country, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the fact is, Nerchio, I actually like his Zerg vs. Protoss a little more than Stefano's. Again, completely ignoring win rates. Nerchio does have a tendency not to fall into the trap that Stefano does. Which is that Stefano will start to do these huge pushes and overcommit to them when they're clearly not going to work, building far too many units. And what happens? It ends up backfiring, and then there's no way to escape that spot. But Nerchio always seems to just do gentle pressures that always allow him to have a next follow-up step, especially he has that infestor-based mid-game play he likes a lot.
Yeah, that's entirely true. And that investor-based mid-game play is something that has, you know, sprung up in the past couple of months. You know, people are kind of abandoning Mutalisks and that Roach Hydra style, which just gets so completely figured out by Protoss for a long, long time now. And Nerchio is able to really play around that, again, with the Lings, with the Infestors. It is able to shut down a lot of that aggression that does come in the mid-game from the likes of Inori. And we'll see if he's going to be able to do anything about that, really.
Same token, we see Nerchio doing the good old scout around with all his Lings. Look at this, immediately spots Inori trying to sneak this probe in. And sure, he will be able to get the opportunity to... Oh, wow, he actually won't get the opportunity to scout. That's actually a blunder by Inori. Needs to right-click on those minerals, make sure he doesn't get trapped, because right now, if you're in Inori's shoes, look at this. He doesn't even know if there's a single expansion up right now.
This was a very, very late scout. Normally you send it like straight over after you throw down the initial pylon or maybe even the forge. But he sent this out after cannon and gateway, so he is not going to know anything. Not only that, but he didn't really get any chance to be able to block any hatcheries for a little bit of time with probe micro and potential pylons that would have ended up being cancelled. So from here, he's playing so in the dark, and Nerchio could realistically be doing anything at this point.
Yeah, there's really only 2 options you have as Protoss at this point. One is to immediately push, which it looks like the option that we're seeing from Inori. That will help get you that vital information. Or the other is to chrono out the more standard-looking sentry upgrade type thing.
Uh-oh. Now, Inori during qualification process did favor his Dark Templar play. He has the Twilight Council going down and he's stocking up a little bit of gas here, so we might end up seeing that very, very realistically from him here. And again, actually, I mean, during the qualification process, Inori was an absolute treat to watch. I never expected him to be able to take the series off the players that he did do, but from here, I think we may end up seeing some more of that Dark Templar play here from Inori. Meanwhile, third up and running here for Nerchio, just getting that drone saturated up and going, and Inori just actually taking quite a nice lead here with the probes. He's been chrono boosting those out profusely, and there we go.
There's the Dark Shrine. I like this play a lot. I especially, I mean, I've I'm always a proponent of it, but any sort of follow-up that involves Zealot Archon I just think is quite cool.
Oh,
but
yes.
we've been seeing a lot of stability out of Blinkstalker play, so no reason to get overly creative when you can do what's tried and true. But Inori does do a little bit of poking. Nerchio doesn't really resist the Stalker. He just allows it to do a couple of shots. But this is an interesting play from Inori. Inori's doing the 3 base play right off the bat. Look at his 2 Stalker. What an excellent distraction. He's even building a 3rd Stalker to do that pressure. I like this quite a lot. And there's the pylon going down. I mean, if you're in Nerchio's shoes, you're immediately thinking, oh my god, I'm probably going to be up against a 4 Warp Gate. Look at this. Nerchio sees no gas geysers there. I mean, honestly, if you're in Nerchio's shoes, you're going to be thinking 100% that there's an early 4 to 6 gate pressure coming.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, one of the indicators for that kind of thing would be how, you know, the timing of any kind of upgrades on the forge. He doesn't have vision of that though, so he doesn't actually know that +1 was never really started or anything like that. But he does now know very, very accurately that there is a 3rd up and on the way.
What an incredible timing push by Inori. I mean, this is going to catch Nerchio completely off guard, and on the most traditional, comfortable map for Zerg, there's the DTs morphing in, and suddenly, if you're in Nerchio's shoes, you're just going, oh my god, I thought it was going to be up against a rush play. But nope, there's the DT and a 3rd base going down for Inori, and no layer. There's going to be almost no way for Nerchio to put pressure back onto Inori.
Not too true. He's throwing down those Spore Crawlers as quickly as he possibly can do. 5 currently in production here. This is costing Nerchio quite a bit just in itself with the Spore Crawlers alone. Right now, the DT is going to work on the Spore Crawlers, but deciding to go for the Queen as he realizes that Nerchio just throws down too many to kill at the very end. And right now, how many workers is he going to be able to kill with this? He's already got 12 worker kills, 13, 14. Wow, rocketing up here with that, and just still poking at the front. Well, but this 3rd, as you rightly said, he has no way of putting on the pressure, so that's very, very safe right now.
Oh, Nerchio has just a little bit of an issue to deal with right now. He should have canceled those extra Spore Crawlers. He should have started 3 at the same time and then canceled the remaining 2 when a single one finished. But now he has, what, 6 Spore Crawlers up, 3 at his expansion. I mean, there's no way DTs are going to be doing any damage anytime soon. But very impressed at Nerchio's ability to have taken as little damage as he did. But Nerchio's build is, I gotta say, one of the most perfectly timed builds I've seen in ages. Mining now from 6 geysers. Now, I mean, all you really have to do is mass up on Blinkstalkers, get your Robo Bay up right away. That could actually be the only downfall of Inori's build, is the lack of Immortals.
Yeah, indeed. And, I mean, with the lack of that Robo facility as well, he doesn't really have the observers out to be able to give him vision on the map, doesn't really know where his opponent's coming from, doesn't even have this watchtower here for that defensive position. But this is pretty much exactly the same build that Inori used against Sleep in the qualification process leading up to the final stages of the career qualifier. So it's seriously
so good,
so timed out perfectly here. Really nicely done.
It's a really sexy build, I'm not going to lie. I mean, watching everything align so niftily, and now we have the Blinkstalkers coming out. And I mean, even this follow-up where you're getting the Blinkstalkers, it's not defensive. I mean, sure, you can get the Blinkstalkers up with sentries and get yourself a comfortable defense, but oh, nice Blink taking that out. But also it allows for a fairly swift follow-up attack. It looks like there's not all the upgrades quite done. Speed and actually speed for everything not quite done yet. Trying to get those out as well. So Nerchio is in kind of a bind. Weirdly, Nerchio behind Inori in supply. Very uncommon.
I was just going to say, how often do you end up seeing this kind of thing in PvZ? It just doesn't happen anymore. Unless, of course, you're able to really ramp up that aggression. And killing those 25 workers off earlier with those Dark Templars really ensured Inori would be able to take this very, very strong lead. Now with that +1 finishing, he's going to poke in with these Stalkers. And against only 12 Roaches and 26 Lings, this might be able to do a little bit of damage.
Gosh, Inori looking magnificent with a nifty little blink there. Warp Prism out as well. I mean, it's looking like that classic 2-base timing push, but no 3 bases are behind Inori. He is just going to macro his way up to the front lines, and even DT's getting warped in. Excellent blinks by Inori. I mean, Nerchio, gosh, just in such an impossible position. Has only 17 Roaches to 29 Stalkers.
Yeah, very, very nice control here by Inori right now. He knows how far he is ahead, I think, here. There you go, GG, guys. Game number 1, Inori looking fearsome here. I think, though, the one interesting point is the fact that whilst that was a very, very nice build and a very nicely timed out build there from Inori, I don't think that's going to be a build that works really twice. That's something that you bring out in a best of 3 to gain the early advantage, gain the lead, and Nerchio's going to have those precautionary measures in place because he now knows that Inori can go for that kind of usual thing.
It's kind of a weird spot to be in as a Zerg player because, in a sense, when you're playing StarCraft 2, when you can't see everything your opponent is doing, you always consider the range of his possible strategies as opposed to what one strategy you think he's doing. If you see 3 Stalkers, no gas at the expansion, and the probe building a pylon at your front, the range is pretty narrow. It's pretty much just going to be those early gateway attacks. But then if you throw in the possibility of DTs there, when considering that range, it's hard to deal with all of that at the same time. Okay, I have to build a lot of roaches to deal with the possibility of warp gates. I have to build the detection to deal with the possibility of the DTs. And if I do all of that, oh crap, he took a third base. Oh crap, I don't have detection. I can't even push and kill his third base. I mean, it's just a lovely build by Inori. And Nerchio's answer really has to be to skip out on the roaches entirely. But again, think of how dangerous that is.
Yeah, indeed. And I don't want to... Normally, I'm not too hypercritical of players, but for Nerchio here, I think this was a misstep in preparation because, again, Inori is very, very well known right now for this Dark Templar play. And not only in the last...
That is true,
not only in the last stage of the career qualifiers was this very evident when he was not only using it against Zerg, but also Terrans as well. He, in the qualification up to that qualifier, because there's 2 tiers of qualification process for the career qualifiers. He used it against, again, people like Hyun and Skull. So this is obviously a build that Inori is very, very comfortable using, and something that you have to prepare for against a player like Inori.
Yeah, and I like your use of the word prepare for. It's not you have to expect it and have the perfect counter build for it, but you at least have to have it accounted for in your play somehow, and with no detection, no layer, no nothing. It was a pretty clear, straightforward win for Inori.